My nuts.
The relentless savage and second in command of the Whispers versus the US Army Sergeant Balls of Steel Abraham Ford. Who would win in a confrontation where only one remains? That's the question. My decision will be made according to facts and feats shown from the TV series, so anything regarding the comic will be disregarded. At the end of the day, this is my opinion, and you have every right to disagree. That said, I'll do my best to base my verdict on evidence and approach it as impartially as possible. Before we can determine who wins, each character must be broken down and thoroughly observed. I've constructed 3 sections to go over: character history, skills, and the fight. We begin with the Half Moon, standing at 6'4.5" and roughly 200 pounds, based on actor Ryan Hurst's real-life stats. Beta was a famous country music singer before the outbreak. After the death of his best friend, he spiraled into madness. When Alpha found him, he became her loyal enforcer and second in command of the Whispers. He would execute all of Alpha's orders and ensure no one challenged her position. During the Whisper War, he infiltrated Alexandria and killed various survivors, and after Alpha's ultimate demise, he assumed leadership and led a Walker horde to war until he was eventually killed by Walkers, after being stabbed by Daryl in the eyes. Now we go over the man who left paradise for the rotten ruin. Abraham the red-haired beast, standing somewhere between 6'1" to 6'2" and weighing around 200 pounds. Abraham was a former US Army sergeant. After losing his wife and children early in the apocalypse, he found renewed purpose by escorting Eugene to Washington, believing Eugene held the key to saving the world. After discovering Eugene had lied, Abraham eventually settled in Alexandria. He played a major role in several key battles, including the Satellite Outpost assault, which ultimately led to his death at the hands of Negan. Skills. Embracing an animalistic style of life, Beta is a skilled survivor capable of more than sheer violence. Skills he has acquired during this time consist of hunting, tracking, reconnaissance, walker manipulation, and hand-to-hand combat. People often label him as a mindless savage, but he's proven to be a capable strategist. Whether sneaking into Alexandria to assassinate survivors or using a door as a shield in anticipation of Daryl's crossbow, Beta fights smart. In terms of fighting, his raw strength typically gives him the edge, however he isn't limited by it. He wields dual knives with brutal efficiency. He can take punishment like a walk. He's been shot at, stabbed, and thrown from a building, yet he kept coming. His unpredictability, ambush tactics, and terrifying mask make him even deadlier. Tactical, level-headed under pressure, but emotionally volatile. Abraham was made for this world. He became a leader of his own group until he eventually got captured by the termites and joined up with Rick. His service in the army made him battle-hardened and skilled with firearms. He's exceptionally strong and durable. He beat the snot out of Glenn, knocked out Eugene, and even survived a hit from Negan's Lucille long enough to spit out one last insult. He's a seasoned brawler, and his military training gives him an edge against many survivors. The final section, the fight. This will be broken down into 2 different parts: hand-to-hand combat and brute strength. But for this fight to even happen, we have to set up the stage. No guns allowed. Why? Simple. Because if firearms were allowed, Abraham would easily dominate. And this is to determine who is stronger in a fight. Both characters will be at their peaks, with the exception of guns. Hand combat, so who takes this point? And the answer is, well, Beta. See, we need to get this misconception out of the way. People assume if you're in the military, then you're automatically a top-tier fighter, and this is just not the case. Basic training is 10 weeks, and only a few of those weeks are spent learning hand combat. Sure, you can say that might be better than your average Joe, especially over time, but it isn't out of this world. Compare it to someone like Beta, who has survived over 13 years gaining experience fighting and killing. It's just a no-brainer. And if you don't believe me, well then just compare them. Beta took on Daryl where they both clashed with their knives. Beta ultimately lost, but you have to understand the entire fight wasn't about killing, but rather extracting the whereabouts of Lydia from Daryl. If Beta had wanted to kill him, then he would have. Now let's see the fight between Abraham and Glenn. Abraham gets knocked down with a single punch from Glenn. They then proceed to fight, and yes, Abraham eventually gets the advantage and wins the fight, but when it was over, Glenn stood up as if nothing happened. Not enough? Fine. Let's analyze his fight against Andy. Andy gets on Rick, Abraham then comes and tackles him, and somehow he ends up on the floor and gets choked out. I've seen people try using the argument, well, he had Sasha on his mind. Sorry, nope, that doesn't work. He was dying, and when he was dying, that's when he heard Sasha, which is where he realizes he wants her instead of Rosita. Abraham is strong, yes, but time and time again, he proved he isn't very skilled compared to most skilled survivors in The Walking Dead. Back to Beta, he infiltrates Alexandria, where he takes down multiple survivors and wins. Sure, a lot of them didn't see him coming, but that's what makes him better. And so who gets the point for brute strength? Well, at this point, I think everybody should have guessed the outcome. Beta. This man was charging through walls, manhandling people like ragdolls. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Abraham isn't skilled or strong. In fact, he's one of my favorite characters. But what gave him the edge against everybody was his size. And the matter is, Beta is just bigger, and from what we saw in the show, stronger. People just like Abraham more and choose to disregard facts, but not here. No, sir. The verdict? Beta wins. The fight would be hard, but I believe Beta would come out on top against Abraham. Now, of course, this is just my opinion. You could disagree, or I could be entirely wrong. But alas, the video has come to an end. If I got anything wrong, please let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, or don't, as long as you enjoyed the video.